Help me. I can see where I'm going. All right. Okay, today we gotta get this thing mounted, actually physically installed on the chassis. So, unfortunately, steering box, oil line output, idler arm mounts, steering stabilizer bracket doodad stupid, we'll get rid of that. You know, just in general up front here, we are looking at a mess. I do kind of plan to make our brackets off of these tension rod brackets, which is kind of a bummer because unbolting them is a pain, but we'll have to do that, I think. However, obviously can't do that with this broken piece of 2x6 in here, so we're gonna have to support the front of the motor with a jack, but I'd like the rear of the motor transmission to be where it's actually gonna be sitting. So the first step we're gonna do today is take care of that up and forward gap on the transmission mount. Do some quick maths, right? So from our like center of our big hole on here, it looks like we're roughly 6.5 inches back of our happy location. So we'll call that 7 inches of extension, no matter what. And from here down, I need kind of a straight edge. So let's grab a straight edge. Sheesh, need a third hand here. Okay. And it looks like right around 3.5 in the uppies. So it's, yeah, that's a lot. 3.5 up. And what did we say? A bunch out. 7 forward, 3.5 up. We're going to go ahead and call that 3 up because I want to be able to space the mount however I need to, up or down a little bit for driveline angle. So, you remember those numbers? I already forgot. Damn you. Help me. I can see where I'm going. All right. Are you winning, son? I don't need a lift. I've got jack stands that are always in the way. Okay, so far, this is our crazy nonsense that we've come up with. Happen to have a 14-inch piece of this flat stock, so I cut that into 2 7-inch pieces. Obviously, we're going to have some alignment here, but this is a test fit, just tacked up so I can take it back apart and weld it more gooder. But let's see if our upsies and outsies reaches. Okay, so proof of concept, up and out, we're good. Got a little gap here because the trans is jacked up. So looks like I can lob this off more where I wanted it to be and close this end in. We'll take that top plate off to weld these more where they're supposed to be, burn it in all good, and that should be a trans mount, right? All I gotta do is drill a freaking hole. Slotted. Not the nicest slot. Use the drill. Well, we're up in there. So I don't have a lot of standard hardware laying around. This, whatever it is, it fits that decent, but it is still wrong. So I'm gonna go ahead and lower the trans down onto it. Maybe I should put the 2 top bolts in, because that's a long extension to just have on those guys. I'll do that. Then I'll lower the transmission down, and it should be sitting on there decent. And we can take the dog to the vet, and then come back and make some front motor mounts. Perhaps as expected, running the tap through those guys, they came out really crappy when I pulled the trans out. And now I can see someone, whoever did the last clutch probably, didn't do the best job putting these back in. Great. Cool. Okay, we got her ever so sketchily jacked up off the steering. Still relatively centered based on the fact that my exhaust is slashed up against that, which I know it's been. And we've got this little cutie nugget here holding this piece of angle iron onto our factory RX7 cross bracket. And I guess we're gonna try to make this talk to that in some way that's a little less in the way and hopefully kind of decent looking. I don't know. I have other materials. I might even have to stop and try to get more materials. But that's the plan so far. So, got our angle doodad here. That'll be drilled through a through bolt. And over here we've got a upright going up and down to the tension rod bracket. That'll be welded to the tension rod bracket and across here. And then down here like this, we'll have this guy welded to the tension rod bracket and up to our angle bracket. And once that's all tickety-tacked so it'll stay in place. Y'all ever watch Home Improvement? What was the neighbor? I never saw more than his eyes. Anyway, once that's all tacked into place and secured, I can take the tension rod brackets off and box them in neatly and weld them securely, and that one should be done. Now, making decent progress here, but I gotta take the little doggy to the vet. He's got an appointment today, so. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, if your motor mounts are the way you're talking about, that's gonna be completely solid. Are you sure you don't wanna run a rubber mount? And the answer is, well, I don't know, maybe. So, the way that rotaries function, they don't have any parts going up, down, up, down, up, down, or side, 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 side. They're just spinning. So, they're inherently pretty smooth. So a lot of times in swap applications, people just solid mount them. I'm gonna solid mount mine. We do have that rubber isolator on the transmission that'll hopefully prevent the, you know, transmission harmonics from transferring into the cab. But we'll see. Test it out with it solid mounted, and if there's any harmonics that I just don't like, that aren't driveline angle related, then maybe we'll, you know, revisit that and add an isolator or some kind of, you know, insulator of some sort. But at the moment, we're just gonna solid mount that puppy and hope for the best. Taking the doggy to the vet and hit Ace Hardware for maybe some metric or some standard hardware for that trans mount, since I don't have any of that. We're back. Got a little daylight left. Doggy did his thing, got his shot. Let's try to make some progress. Hate welding under a car. Conveniently, right where my head needs to be, there's a jack holding the engine up. Not the prettiest, but we've got a few tacks. Should be able to hold it all together while we pull the tension rod bracket out of the truck to weld that up, clean it up, and make it a little prettier. Before we do that, we'll go ahead and slide on over to the passenger side, see if we can't come up with an orientation that looks similar and is also out of the way of all the nonsense for that side. Okay. This one is kicking my butt. I just love fall. Got a fire smoldering down here under the truck from them leaves, but I think we have a solution that's gonna work. Giant pain. Let's get these tension rods off, brackets off, and then we can take this stuff to the bench and full weld it up and try to make them look less erector set, you know? Cool. So here's what we've come up with. This is our passenger side bracket. Obviously, we're gonna have to clean all this paint up, weld them up a little better, and, you know, make them not look so bad. But this lined up where we needed it to be. And yeah, all we're gonna have to do is punch a hole in this, and the slotted mount on the motor should allow us to give us upsy downy wiggle room. The passenger driver side was a bit more of a hassle. The engine bracket for the RX7 is shorter on this side, so we had to reach out from the tension rod bracket to get to it. Got a little crafty with this angle iron here and just slotted it until I could bend it to an arrangement that kind of worked to get us more level with the tension rod bracket. And this guy coming out, once again, we'll clean it up, weld it up a little better, and, you know, make it not look so silly. This side, I have to be very mindful. This is right up against the frame rail here, so I can't add a lot of weld here. And the nut for the steering box is right here, so we can't get too crazy right here. But otherwise, just a matter of cleaning it up, gluing it together more securely. So here is what we came up with. Boy, I am definitely gonna lose my voice from all this grinding. Great. Anyway, so here's what we came up with. Some pretty crappy welds. Only the worst looking ones where you can see them. This will be the driver's side. Laid it in on the bottom. You know, nothing too special. Should be strong enough for the torque of a rotary, if not way overbuilt. And the passenger side looks a little bit nicer. Once again, not the best looking welds, and the best looking ones are definitely ones that you probably won't see. But once again, probably plenty strong and definitely strong enough for a rotary. Now, let's hope the tension rod brackets still bolt into the truck and aren't wildly warped from all the welding we just did on them. I'll probably grind some of this down, but overall I'm probably just going to leave the exposed welds. Doubt we'll get much further today, but we accomplished a lot, so that's good. Real quick rattle can spray paint on them, and put them back in the truck. I guess the time will be now. Okay, so our trans mount is slotted. They did not fall off immediately, so that's a plus. So if I need to move it forward or backwards, we can do that with the trans mount. And well, otherwise it's supported. It does look like we're wildly close to the steering again, and still got to trim that part of the motor frame, cross member, doodad, but that's in there. No more jack. Hello there. I didn't come out here with any intention of filming anything today, but you know, I got a little carried away with some free time, and I found myself getting fancy with wood again. But so this camera sucks. 1 second. Anyway, so rotaries, I think, like to keep their two primaries separate for a fairly long amount of time. This is definitely a little shorter. I think this is like a racing beat old header that we're ruining in here. However, yeah, so in the truck, we've got to come out of the head or cylinder rotor housings here as two. Then we have to come somehow and fit between this part of the frame rail. Toyota was nice enough to have this notch in the cross member on both sides, so V8 swaps and whatnot in the future would be better. Also rotary swaps. So we got to shoot for that. Can't be lower than the frame because, well, we scrape all of this stuff at our ride height. So we've got to come out, shoot the gap here, twisty doodle-oodle, and yeah, merge into one, and then cross. I don't know. We got to get to the back somehow. Anyway, so using a menagerie of parts here, we've got this. These are from the factory Y pipe on my IS250, slip fitted. This is the merge that came with this header, with the flange cut off so that we could slip fit it as well. Then into this random piece of crush bent tubing with expanded end that fits over this crush bent tubing with expanded end. And that should get us generally in the direction we need to be going. And then we'll, you know, figure out the rest. But this part up here, it's pretty important. And since I've got it in a manner that's gonna work, we're gonna go ahead and throw some tacks on all this stuff so it doesn't shuffle too much. And then probably leave it alone for there because we still got to finalize motor placement. It's basically finalized, but it's not final. So I'm gonna throw some tacks on this stuff real quick, maybe even full weld it tonight. And I don't know. Kitty, what'd you do to your face, you dingus? Anyway, well guys, we finally did it. We burned up that whole spool of wire. You know, I bought this welder and the cart and that big bottle. I've had to refill the bottle once or twice now. And that spool of wire for, I think, 350 bucks. Great deal. I still do wish it was a 220, 250, whatever. But, you know, she's been running pretty hard since I've had it. And can't complain. So, I think I have enough tacks to maybe pull it out of there safely. They look like crap. Anyway, it would look better if we weren't recycling a bunch of used junk. But to quote a very famous and successful businessman, in the terms of money,
we have no money.
So, recycling. That's what we're doing. Anyway, so I guess maybe tonight I'll have to see if I can pick up some welding wire. And the cat can come back and glue it all together. Final weld. Right? Something to do. Hi, me again. So, I don't know where we left off last time. However, I know I haven't had much time to mess with stuff, so I haven't been filming, and I definitely have been just fiddle-faddling around with little things here and there. One, engine installed, header, I believe, is built. Okay. May have to adjust it because I still want to adjust the engine because that oil pan to center link on the steering is not looking ideal. I'm thinking we're a little bit too leaned back on the engine. Otherwise, recently on Facebook Marketplace, I acquired this 4x4 Radiator. Pretty cool. It's for like I believe an IFS truck, maybe just newer than maybe a solid axle truck. Regardless, it's a thicker core. Not to mention it's like brand new and looks great compared to my stock one. Bolts right into this truck. The thicker core should be helpful. It does not have the lower heater hose built into the lower neck, so I'll either have to put the lower heater hose in here or just in the hose in line there. There's also a fitting on the backside of the water pump that might work for that. Regardless, we will have to do something with the heater hose, but newer, nicer radiator, and it was $3, which is the best amount of dollars. simultaneously, I couldn't do it. Couldn't do the oil cooler taking up this fender. It just would have been convenient when you're like tooling around at the racetrack, because you could like lay your wieners on it and grill hot dogs when you're driving from one side of the track to the other. But I couldn't. So I wanted to do the water to air or water to oil, and you know, it's just going to end up costing money and being a pain. So alternatively, I think I might be able to fit this here and trim the bumper, as well as the lower valence and potentially my lip for that fitting. However, I think this will be just the right amount of ooh, there's something cool under the hood, and not a whole bunch of, hey, I'm a weebo and this is my Bustasaku oil cooler. But I don't know yet, so might have to, we'll find out. Okay, anyway, that's what I'm gonna do now, is trim this bad boy out to clear the oil cooler, and I'm definitely gonna have to rebuild our core support. I did spend a little bit of time body work in this corner, because she'd been hit on this side. A little straighter over there, should be cool, a little bit nicer. Still a little wonky on the core support, but definitely better. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing. How's your day been? Cool. I like where this is heading. I like it. So, hung the fender back on there because I had them unbolted. Got our valence bolted to the fender and the core support. And I guess we're just going to start marking where we're going to on trim and clearance for the oil cooler. Definitely going to have to get creative with mounting stuff, but I think we'll be fine. Well, trying to visualize it with the chin spoiler and the headlights and grill, but I'm pretty sure I don't hate it. It's a little crooked. Still gonna make my hood latch support slash lower valence bolt support slash a way to actually mount that. But I think that'll look cool. Boy, it is super downhill, so we're gonna definitely need to move that side up. But otherwise, cool. I think I'm happy with it. Situation report. So, well, spent a little time with the Laws Totally Awesome, cleaning up my engine bay. It's definitely not the final bath, but made a huge difference. There's a ton of overspray. Now all that's gone, so that's cool. My Laws Totally Awesome did hit my previously chrome powder coated bumper and ended up making it look horrible. Oh boy. Oh boy. So then I just did the entire thing with Laws Totally Awesome. Ended up getting this like dark gray that's like dead smooth, beautiful. So that'll stay for now because I don't mind it. Issue is we've been making great progress, very little backtracking. However, weather permitted, I think the motor is coming out today. You see this crap? This is why I hate fall. Anywho, reason the engine's got to come out is, well, center link. Okay, my original plan, I had this thing sitting right in the drop behind the sump here, and it looked sweet. That's why we have the 1-inch blocks or 3/4 inch blocks on our engine mount pedestals, is because, well, literally can't sit it here because, whoa, can't steer this thing with one hand. Ugh. Well, that's why. So our center link disagrees with the location of our front sump. Problematically, if I spend any time changing this oil pan around, I'm going to end up wanting to move the motor back like original. Just going to open up a whole another can of worms. But looks like we're going to have to flip the pan and change it to a rear sump in hopes of getting better fitment for our Ingione. And that is way more fabrication than I had intended on this being, but it looks like that's where we're at. Swell. Yeah. Well, she's out of there. So the only thing that was bolted down was the transmission. Everything else is just kind of hovering in here. Well, I'll probably not mess with this today, but I might. Pan, I've heard they're symmetrical, so we can probably flip it and apparently have to just drill a couple new holes. That'd be sweet, rather than having to weld full 360 degrees around the pan. But anyway, she's out. I'll probably do a few things preemptively in here before the motors goes back in, but we'll probably call it for this video. Motor is unstalled. Swaps.